Welcome everyone. Today we have Anna Jones on our channel. She just got a reading with me, and we were looking over some of her script based on astrology and numerology. And we got to talking, and it turns out she has a lot of interesting experiences regarding the simulation, regarding these entities that she may have come in contact with, and a lot of her experiences kind of seeing the deeper truth behind this reality, like we like to talk about on this channel, right? So welcome, Anna.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have you on. Thanks for agreeing to this quick video, quick interview. So we were talking about you basically you had done this session, right? This Reiki session, and
Oh yeah.
I don't necessarily recommend people do this because Reiki in and of itself is a very manipulative method nowadays. Has been very hijacked by these entities. A lot of people, a lot of Reiki healers actually have a lot of entities which they then pass to you. These implants they pass to you through this method of healing, let's say, and whatever healing you may receive, it comes at a cost. But for you, Anna, you said it opened you up in a bit, and you were able to have maybe these hallucinatory experiences that gave you a lot of information and maybe opened you up to kind of another side of the truth. So
Yeah, it was
can we stand the
interesting.
truth?
Exactly. The big question. It was interesting when I even had the Reiki attunement because my whole body rejected it. Really, it was really strange.
Oh,
And
yeah, no.
the Reiki, I think, like Reiki masters, Reiki practitioners. She said that she'd never actually come across that before. So the whole Reiki attunement was strange anyway. But yeah, afterwards, it just broke me open to something, and I spent a year of seeing a lot of hallucinations, and like you were saying, information was coming through, which I had journaled the whole time. And that was back in 2013. So yeah, I was even having around that time what felt like typical Matrix downloads, which I hadn't mentioned to you before. It was really like in the movie, seeing all the Matrix code, but it was as if it was downloading into my body with a really strong, hard to put into words, but it felt like the energy was too strong for the body.
Okay. Yeah.
It was really, really bizarre. But amongst the information that was coming through when I was going through that, a lot of psychic experiences, was seeing the term spirit show. And I now believe that that was information that was coming into me to tell me the nature of this reality and the program that we're in. That we are literally spirits in a show, and that none of this is real. And I guess like the Truman Show, all that was coming through. And I, at the time, hadn't took any of that information on board, but I'm glad that I recorded it all, because obviously now I get it. But back then I just had no awareness really.
So you said the Reiki attunement, your body ended up rejecting it. Did you have any sort of physical symptoms, any sort of, let's say, sleep paralysis that may have followed after that?
Yes, I did actually. I did go through a period of, I'm trying to think of it in relation to this Reiki attunement. I think it was a few years later, and I went through a period of having sleep paralysis experiences nearly every night. Right. It was quite intense, and I did, because I was really caught up in the new age back then. I did notice that whenever I tried to do something which was supposedly something to protect you, what new age information would tell you to do, where you're calling in the archangels and all of
Right.
like purple, not purple flame, the violet flame and all
The
that kind
violet,
of
yeah.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I would try that, I would tend to have those sort of attacks the same night. And at the time, I thought that's strange, because this is what you're told to do to protect yourself, but it's actually making my situation much worse. And I found with the sleep paralysis, the thing that actually stopped it was so I would have what felt like the demon was there on top of me, and I would try to face it and I wasn't able to. But because I was trying to face it rather than shy away from it, and in my head I did actually just say like F off, and then it never happened again. And I don't think I've actually had sleep paralysis since then. I've had a lot of other like crazy experiences, but not that. So I think because whatever that entity was realized that I was no longer afraid of it, and I was just done. I was just so done of that experience, then it didn't happen again.
Yeah, that's a big thing in taking our power back, right? Is dealing with the fear, dealing with whatever negative energy may be impacting us through,
Yeah.
pre-traumas or things like that. And the reason I asked about the sleep paralysis is because that's the most telling sign of being implanted by these beings. And even with the archangels and this violet flame or golden light or all of that, I don't think that is pure, because the pure light is white light, and everything else is kind of a disturbance of it potentially.
Yeah.
And I've heard that the gold light may even be worse than, let's say, complete blackness, or complete black darkness, or whatever, just oozing from an entity, basically, because it's like repackaged and given a false package, in a sense, a false branding, but also magnified, so it can contain even more.
Yeah. And more alluring to people as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I guess let's talk a little bit about what information you may have received from these downloads, from these codes. Uh, I've definitely, experienced something similar, where your body may not be ready to retain all that information coming, all those codes, and it can react in a certain way, which requires lots of grounding and self-reflection and things like that. But what's beings or information or experience specifically did you have?
Um, something that has come up a lot for me, which I still don't quite understand, was I was seeing a lot of very complex equations, which would really take up the whole room. And
Oh,
I would try to write it down, but the way that I would see things and how I still see things now is the more that I actually look at it, which I guess I'm not seeing it with my physical eyes, but I'm still not fully attuned to viewing the information, because when I do try to, it actually really hurts my eyes. So I guess I still need to fine tune that. So I would try to retain all of the information, but it's a room full of it, so it's very difficult for me to do. So I have written down some of it, which I've still not really made any sense of.
these are
And
mathematical equations. What do you think they represent?
kind of, yeah, I suppose like quantum physics kind of equations. But I'm really not logically minded, so to me it's just like I have no idea what this is. But and I would see a lot of Latin, which I don't consciously know Latin, but then I would check it later, and yeah, it was lots of information like that, lots of symbols that I don't really recognize anywhere.
Okay.
So yeah, there was a lot of, and of course within that, I don't know how much of that is deception going on, or what
Right.
entities were perhaps just messing with me. So because I was seeing a lot of eyes, spiders,
Mm.
there's a lot of things which may not have been so great.
Mm-hmm.
And I know around that time in particular, I was seeing a lot of a swirling black mist, which I imagine was not good, not a good energy. That was also, so yeah, this information could be interferences as well. But even within that, and like we were speaking about before, potentially we can get true source information coming through amongst all of this as well, because everything is, the good within the bad and vice versa. So I'm sure, yeah, it's a combination as well as that. And with the matrix coding information that came through, it felt like it was too big for me to even embody. So as soon as I felt any sort of panic, it just ended straight away.
Oh,
So
okay.
it was really dependent on how much I was letting that information come through into the body. And I guess other things I've seen, I have been able to see the matrix blueprint grids of how things are made up here, which have, when that first started, that felt like a really weird experience, and it freaked me out actually when I first began seeing that. Um,
So it was more like you were able to see the code behind an object in a sense, kind of like you were
yeah,
constantly on shrooms or something.
yeah,
Yeah,
basically, yeah.
yeah,
But it
yeah.
would
That
just
happened to me.
happen really randomly.
Oh, okay. What about when looking like at the sky? Could you see a
Yeah,
grid?
that was the first time that I saw it actually. So that was when I was just outside at night looking at the sky, and then I saw the grid, but it wasn't just seeing it. It was a very feeling. It was a feeling as well, and it freaked me out so much that I actually like ran inside and just sat on my bed, and I was like, I don't know how to process this,
Perfectly
that
normal.
I've
Yeah,
what I've just seen and felt.
yeah,
Yeah, it was it felt quite dissociated after, because it was a feeling sense as well.
yeah. I want to get back to some other stuff, but really quick, I did just post a video of this woman that just came out on someone else's podcast, talking about her NDE, and she had basically been also opened up through these experiences. Because what happens really is our aura kind of opens up, and then there's a space for either these negative entities to come in and attach and implant us, but also for other information and downloads to also come in and upgrade us in a sense potentially.
Yeah.
And she was talking about how she then started seeing a kind of grid in the sky, or a kind of glitch in the matrix even. And she also got freaked out. It was very weird. So I believe it's Jeff Mara podcast. If you ever want to check out that video, so check out her whole account, because it's very interesting how once we get to these higher levels of perception and we come back to our world, our own reality, we then start seeing things differently, or we start seeing things that may not truly
Mm-hmm.
we may not have seen before. Um, in regards to uh, your downloads and the code, is it possible potentially you're even receiving like the equations to the actual matrix? I wonder, like how the matrix runs. I mean,
Well, it
calculus.
yeah, I mean, when I was seeing it, I mean, this when I first started seeing it was back in 2013, where I had no awareness, no conscious awareness of the reality of this program that we're in. So when I was seeing it, I was getting the sense it sounds silly, and I felt silly as well. I mean, I didn't really tell anyone about this because it was like, I'm seeing the secrets of the universe. Like that's
Yeah.
what I was,
Yeah.
that's the feeling that I was getting when I was seeing it. And I actually was, I said this to someone, it was just yesterday, that I felt that maybe when we're seeing this, potentially we are seeing, let's say that we are the original creators of this program that we're in before it was corrupted. We could be seeing all of the coding that we actually used ourselves to create this place, and maybe because different people see different things, that could have been what they were actually working on. That was just a theory that popped into my head yesterday, that maybe that's,
Yeah, very possible.
maybe that these equations that I'm seeing was information that I was working with to create something here. I don't know, but it was just something that popped into my head yesterday.
Yeah, and even the Latin bit is interesting. I feel it's more deceptive though, because Latin is based off, or rather, is related to Hebrew, and Hebrew is essentially a copy, but it's a reverse copy of
Okay.
the original, which is Aramaic or Arabic. Um, that may have been, and even languages in general was kind of given to us in a sense to get us more into the mind, right? Because I believe we were activated, we had our DNA activations before, and everything was telepathic, just like
Yeah.
in the astrals. And this is really another form of the astrals. Now we have language, so we have to vocally speak, rather. So it's important to note that these experiences came after that kind of manipulative healing that you may have received through Reiki, and then opened you up to implants potentially as well because of it.
Yeah.
Just like when taking hallucinogenic substances, you start seeing the coding of the matrix, right? Because of that. But then all of a sudden, these entities come in, the entities for the specific substance, and they start manipulating the message, or they start getting you to see only what they want you to see, only what they allow you to see, in a sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So everything that any information or anything that we get through here, I guess we can assume that it is going to be in some way corrupted. We're not going to be getting the full message or the full truth in any way.
Yeah. Now, did you have any encounters with any beings like Archons or Greys or anything of that nature? I know you mentioned the demon, but anything else?
Yeah. It was actually more recently that I have had a lot more of that sort of ET
Involvement?
deception.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. To the point where I had actually felt like I was being abducted and having experimentation, where so sometimes when that had happened, I would actually have physical markings on me the
Oh,
next
wow.
day.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of that going on, but I almost wonder with that, say that this is, we're in a dream basically here.
Yeah.
And I do wonder that the more that we focus on these sort of areas and rabbit holes that we go down, how much are we actually then creating that here? So say that all the origin of all of these kind of experiences comes from the same place, it's from the AI consciousness. So our experience of these things could be dependent on the rabbit holes that we're going down at the same time, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that made sense what I just said, but I say
Yeah, that
that
does.
because I at the time was really interested in ETs and different races. And so I think that the deception that was coming through was like, oh, so she's really into that at the moment, and this seems like truth to her. So I was inviting in those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lot of those experiences. I would see reptilians, greys,
You would
lots of
actually
blue
see them
beings.
walking around
Yeah,
on
they would
people, or
actually they would be more for me nighttime experiences where I'd wake up and they they might be stood next to me. I even had it where an experience where I was being beaten up by one. Like I woke up in a
oh
lucid
wow,
state and I was being beaten up. Um,
wow.
yeah, a lot has happened over the years. But as soon as I turned my back on that, it didn't happen really again. So that's
Mm,
where I believe that there is a huge component to that. That the more that we're thinking about these things, the more that we are investing our energy into it, the more that we're inviting in those experiences.
mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, interesting. Yeah, I definitely believe this matrix, this universe realm is a mirror, always reflecting to you
Mm-hmm.
what you are, what you focus on, and that's especially true regarding our belief systems, because the instant I feel like we start accepting a different belief as part of our reality, that's the instant that the matrix then categorizes us. Oh, okay, he's now in this camp.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
gonna give him this information. We're gonna show her uh, all of these different things that may have not appeared in her reality before, but now
Mm-hmm.
let's say she's in tune with that, which can be good and bad. Like you mentioned, dealing more with these beings. But do you think there's any way for us to see kind of the whole truth? Like, hey, okay, sure, those beings exist. I would like to see them to say, okay, I don't want to deal with that. And in order for me not to experience that, maybe make it apparent to me like where it is, but also show me what I may want to experience and the whole truth, and kind of more alongside my purpose, let's say, or my higher potential.
Yeah, I guess it's almost as though we're entering different layers and different levels of the game. So
Yeah.
like so that was okay, that was the ET level. So yeah, I am beginning to think that the more that we connect within and the more that we can see the glimmer of our true self, that we can, whatever that glimmer is that we can potentially see here, I think the more that we connect with that, then we can potentially invite more of that experience externally. So I am
Yeah.
beginning to see that more the more that I do that myself. And I feel that it has brought in more what feel like memories of a more natural state that I am more accustomed to. So that has, for me, brought in a lot of the idea of telepathy has felt really strong to me lately, and how that experience actually feels and how we naturally communicate in that way. And I'm interested in how, to what extent can we have that experience here as well. That's something that I really would like to explore further, because potentially we can bring that experience here as well, even though it's not technically of this place and it's not what this place has become. But say that we could bring that in more and we could experience that more, and how could that change things here as well?
Yeah, I think it's definitely will come natural as a result of maybe more of us feeling more connected, raising our vibration in a sense, and kind of uh, finding out more of these truths and what our reality really is based around. And I believe really that if enough people became aware of the Matrix and detached from it, or said, okay, we're done with the game, that the game would literally just end. It would say, okay, you're out. it's
Mm-hmm.
it's the end, right? Um, and I know Howdy actually talks about this in regards for the personal reality, that if Howdy Mikowski on YouTube, if you basically stop the mind, if you stop identifying what each object is, calling things by their names, and just saying, oh, that's, you know, that's a thing. I don't know what that is. It's just an observer, being in an observer state without labeling things. All of a sudden, reality starts functioning more like what it really is. A code or an illusory substance that just
Mm-hmm.
feels more dreamlike, really. And
Yeah.
he talks about having to make sure the chair is actually there before sitting down, because sometimes it wasn't even there to begin with, or he would pick up on things
Yeah.
coming ahead of time, or people coming ahead of time without having any prior information, right? And it's like this tapping into
Yeah.
the
I think
universal
I
field.
remember him. Was that when he was talking about when he actually had? Yeah, it was something about a chair, wasn't it? And then
Yeah,
he actually then had a premonition of what was about to happen. So it really upset the order of the Matrix and the program.
right. Interesting. Yeah, I guess the question becomes, do we really want to break the matrix, and is the matrix
Yes.
functioning how it's supposed to, already,
Hmm.
with the entrapment focus, or is it functioning for our benefit? But I think that's why it's important to dive into these things first and be ready to hear the truth, be ready to hear what's going on, and potentially seeing these entities to know that they exist, so that you're not always in a state of delusion, thinking,
Yeah.
oh well, no, it's for our benefit, because the greatest prisoner is the one that doesn't know he or she is in a prison, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
um, Now, you mentioned to me before that you had maybe an experience or a vision of archons. I know you specifically dealt with a lot of things with your script. You had a kind of a harder script, especially in regards to like health.
Hmm.
um, Now, do you think that was being manipulated in any way by these archons, or and talk about more the experience if you want?
Yeah, because what the experience that I shared with you was, so it was when I was really unwell. And I guess if you look at it from in terms of loosh, I was giving a lot of potential looshable energy by that experience. And I actually did see and I did a drawing of it. Three
Okay.
what I think were archons. So they were all next to each other and they were just laughing at me, basically.
Yeah.
They thought that that experience that I was going through was, yeah, very funny. And it was probably one of my more lower points as well. So it was as low as I went. That was more entertainment to them, which
Right.
again also points towards the whole me seeing the term spirit show,
It's
because
just a show. Yeah.
we could be a real good source of entertainment. And
Entertainment. Yeah.
yeah, so it's really not a nice
No.
it's not a nice thought, but yeah,
where
that was
where
what I saw.
how did you see them, in like a dream, in a vision, or were you just having
Yeah, it was
hallucinations because of the illness, or?
yeah, it was just so how I see things is that it's projected outwards. So but I can also see it with my eyes closed. I can see it with my eyes open and closed. So
Mhm.
I just saw them in front of me, but it was
Wow.
just their heads that I saw, and they were spinning as well. Like, um, I'm actually teaching myself how to get into animation, because I would
Mm.
really like to create what these things that I've seen so that I
Oh,
can share them with
yeah.
us, because I almost want to see if anyone else has I want to create these things and just like, who else has seen this?
Yeah,
And
yeah, that's my brother's into that as well. That's really cool.
yeah, and also like I was saying with the where I feel that I'm remembering more natural states, especially with telepathy, unconditional love, pure connection. Because I see it very visually, that is something else I really want, and I have already started creating art and animation for this, because again, I want to be able to share it with people just to see, do you remember this? Is, you know, does this mean anything to you? Or maybe it could help
Hmm.
people. I mean, obviously, I don't know whether this is true or not, but to me, it feels true, at least at the moment. So if it could help other people to remember or
Yeah,
connect with
yeah,
it as
exactly.
well.
Yeah, for some people, just maybe stuck in their subconscious that, it was implanted or rebranded, repurposed, recategorized in the subconscious, and then put maybe false memories on top of that, and then even triggers that can prevent people from accessing that by giving them a huge amount of fear or a huge distaste to looking that way. And that's
Mm-hmm.
a telltale sign, really, of something that needs to be uncovered in the
Yeah.
psyche because it's been repressed by outside intervention.
Well, I think that's the thing with um so the trauma that we all go through here, it seems like it can take us either way. So we could become so traumatized that we're so shut down that, yeah, we just become even deeper into the matrix,
Hmm.
or we can be traumatized in such a way that it actually catapults us out of it and jolts us
Hmm.
into
Right.
remembering. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what that distinction is, why certain people react in different ways, but I know for myself and other other people that I know closely that have gone through hugely traumatic experiences here, and it was actually that experience that they went through which helped them to remember and to see actually the nature of this place, and
Yep.
you know
And that's why
that.
I think they have so many traps and so many agents even ready, like in the adjustment bureau, to hop
Mhm,
in and say, okay, this we know that this is likely to happen, even though it's a controlled group and we're putting in all these traumas, but some of them are actually waking up. What do we do?
mhm,
Send in the agents, send in the other
mhm.
events, manipulate the script, do everything you can to stop them. And
Yeah,
that's the beauty of us. We're so resilient and so willing to remember and to stop. This essence is so powerful that they're
yeah,
scared really of it. They know that we are powerful. They know we can easily break out if we just remembered or if we just change our perspective on the place potentially. Like,
yeah,
and that's why I tell people, like, hey, you trying to function this matrix and find your purpose here and save the earth potentially could be a trauma bond. It could be a deception that you're not really accepting the fact that you're not maybe supposed to be here and
yeah,
you may just want to leave actually, but you're you're just staying because you feel guilty that the place is messed up. But really the place could be acting like it should be, messed up, or the game was messed
yeah,
up and there's nothing we can do, really.
yeah. I've actually been feeling that a lot lately. I guess the more that I've been connecting into my heart space and really going within, the more that when I'm actually outside and interacting with the world or observing it, it feels as though this place operates in a very imperfect, perfect way. That's really what I've been noticing, that actually this is just as it's meant to be. This is just as it is.
Right.
And it's almost seamless in how it operates.
Yep. It's optimized for it.
Yeah. And it's just been really interesting to observe that, and really not feel part of that. And I know I'm not part of that. I'm here, or my projection is here, but this isn't me. I don't need to change anything here. I am just here, hopefully temporarily, and that's it. I don't need to, because that is a trap that, especially with the new age movement, that people can get drawn into. The whole idea of changing the world, making it a better place,
Right.
no new earth and all those ideas, which I know a lot of people, because it's coming from it's giving the illusion of goodness, and a lot of us do want to help others, and we want to, that horror. I actually think it's a horrible quote now, would be the change you wish to see in the world. A lot of us deep down, that's the spirit that we are embodying. But I think it's another trap that we can potentially get stuck in here. So for me, lately, seeing this place as imperfectly perfect has helped me to detach from that.
Exactly. Yeah, because what if it's like a prison break? Like, okay, yeah, maybe we came in here to help, not to turn the prison into, I don't know, a fun facility, but maybe
Yeah,
to
a fairground.
not necessarily break other people out, because you can't just pull people out, but
Mm-hmm.
rather to break ourselves out and then show people, oh, look, this guy got out, or this person got out. Let me follow them. Let me, you know,
Yeah,
follow the paved way. And to get back to the Archons, laughing and the entertainment aspect,
yeah,
this other person that I've worked with, she's very gifted and sees these beings as well, and communicates through to them through these regressions. Um, uh, and she's like, okay, well, ask these beings. And she tells the person that's being regressed, ask these beings to take me first to their leader, or talk to their leader, and then ask this leader, why are you doing this? What is the motive between you harassing these people? And what they say is actually, oh, just for fun. We just have fun. It's entertainment. It's fun
mm-hmm.
messing with you guys. And it's like, okay, which again, how are you going to change the movie if the movie is designed to be a horror movie? It's like it's
Yeah,
designed to create loosh, or designed to create entertainment for these horror beings. That's what they're
mm-hmm.
they're gaining out of it. Um, and there's good parts to the movie too. Of course, there's cycles and there's benefits, and
There's
part
some
of the
character
deception
development going
and
on.
the character
Yeah.
development, yeah, to keep you going. Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the hero of the
Because
story.
they
You're the hero.
Yeah, because that's how they build up tension as well, isn't it? So
Yes.
you could go through a good period in your life, but then when you have something terrible happen, the contrast is so great that it potentially
Great point.
creates more entertainment for, let's say, if it is a show and we're just in some horror movie here.
That's a great point. Yeah, because if it
Yeah,
was just
the
all bad all
contrast.
the time, there would be no emotional change and no actual relativity.
Yeah.
Whereas they say, okay, let's give them what they want. Let's build them up. Let's put them on top of the mountain so that we can push them off. And they fall, right? And what I've experienced with my ego personally is that, it's like that. The more you build yourself up, the more you make your bubble, you blow into the
Mm,
bubble, the bigger the pop, right? The harder the
yeah,
fall. And
yeah,
that's why it's very important to be detached from these outcomes and from these situations.
yeah. And to practice neutrality as much as possible. It's not possible to do that all the time, obviously, but I know for myself, so when you are seeing the ups and downs and the roller coaster, to really observe that, to know that, because I guess for myself, I have noticed that, say I have been on a bit of a high, then it tends to crash back down. So when I have crashed back down and things become terrible for a while, if you could then try to take that to a place of neutrality, can help balance things out a bit. It's not, I don't think it's possible to do that all the time, but to be aware of, say you're going through a hard time, you could keep yourself spiraling down, or you could try to just take it up a bit to a more neutral space and just allow things to be. And I would say things like, everything just is.
Yeah.
So then I'm taking out the analysis that also comes in, like when you're going through a situation, and just let it all be, let it settle. I know that's easier said than done a lot of the time. I know a lot of people are going through terrible suffering here. But that's just something that I've picked up over my own experience of seeing patterns of how things play out.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit about the unconditional love aspect as well, if you want to discuss that.
It's been interesting for me because it just seems like these themes are coming through strongly at the moment, and I've found myself almost, I felt a longing for a love that doesn't exist here because it cannot exist in a dualistic realm.
Yeah.
And so it's just been really, again, with that, telepathy seems a very important aspect of unconditional love, because in order to feel that with another, you have to really embody that person. Well, we're saying person, but whatever our state of being outside of here is, in order to experience unconditional love, we have to feel so connected that I guess it is a merging, and through merging you experience each other fully. So that's how I've been. It feels like memories, and because they've been coming through so strongly lately, I actually felt really sad about it, because it's just not something that can be experienced here. So I felt really sad about it. It was like a grief that came with it, but it felt almost necessary to go through that for me to accept that it doesn't exist here because it can't exist here. But
like missing home.
Yeah, it is. It's a missing home. I actually on Christmas Day watched E.T. again, and it was interesting that, because how the connection between E.T. and Elliot, like they have this psychic connection where they can experience each other fully and feel each other, and that it just feels very much how a more natural state is. But of course, to bring that here would be very dangerous. To be that sensitive and empathic, it just, I don't think that would be a great thing to have here anyway. But I guess at the moment, like I was saying before, I feel called to explore all that a bit more, to just see how much of that can we bring here.
And in regard to the neutrality aspect, unconditional love can actually be very neutral. Uh,
Yeah.
doesn't mean that they're on different vibrations. And with the Richard Hawkins scale, I was always wondering, well, I don't want to be neutral because then I'm not really loving or I'm not really higher vibration. I'm just kind of in the middle. But if you think about it, unconditional love is very neutral. It's like, okay, yeah, sure, you want to be bad? Go for it. You want to be good? Go for it. Love you
Mhm.
regardless, right? And that's kind of how Source is. And in a sense, that's what doesn't make sense when we go into the light. And actually, Forever Conscious Research talks about this. Like, hey, if I don't go into the light, if Source is so unconditionally loving and all that, then it'll understand. It'll be like, hey, take your time. It's okay. Whereas a lot of NDE experiencers, they get this notion that they're rushed, that they're made to feel guilty, that they're pulled,
Mhm.
pushed, thrown all over the place, and they don't even know what's going on. But the final message that they get is, you got to go back because
Yeah.
we need you. you
Yeah.
know. Whereas unconditional love is just like it's neutral. It respects all sides. It loves you, and you know
And
it has
yeah, it
strong
should,
boundaries too.
yeah, it allows the other to be as they are without influencing them or attaching to an outcome in any way. So unconditional love should be a sense of freedom,
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
not this corrupted um, unconditional love, which is actually a sense of control and controlling us.
Hmm.
Complete opposite of how it should actually be. But
Yeah.
that's where the whole love bomb element comes in to skew it really, to give the false sense of unconditional love.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
because go ahead. Sorry, no, keep about that. You're done.
yeah, I was just going to say that I have actually had a few experiences of that recently,
Hmm.
which has actually helped me make a more clear distinction
Yeah.
between the love bombing feeling and the unconditional love.
Same. Yeah.
I
Interesting.
really,
Yeah.
do you want to share that?
Um. Yeah. I mean, my previous relationship, I got love bombed, and it felt like it was love, but it was just me liking the attention,
Hmm.
and I kind of accepted the red flags to go that came with that relationship because it was my ego trying to fill a void that I wasn't getting, I wasn't giving myself. So I felt nice, and that's kind of how it feels there too. But it makes me wonder, like, these beings aren't really supposed to have emotions, yet we hear of them laughing at us, being angry, jealous, prideful, love bombing. So it's like, okay, some of them have emotions. Actually, they're experiencing these emotions.
Yep.
Love, maybe I don't think they can actually emanate that love, but what if they could lose shit from us, kind of collect it, and then throw it at us whenever they need to, in a sense? Because
Mm.
the whole new age community is all like, well, if it shows you love, that means it's good. Okay, but again, could it be a deception? Could it, I guess with the whole energy frequency, yes, a higher being more than likely will reflect that to you, will envelop you, will make you feel safe, will be patient with you. Um, oh no, I forgot what I was gonna say.
It's kind of it's as though because it's not natural, the whole essence of it gets lost in translation because they don't fully understand it and can never experience it. So
Yeah, and we
whatever
don't even understand
they,
it.
yeah, so um what gets projected onto us, yeah, it's hard for me to put into words what I'm trying to say here, but it's not in its authentic sense. So
Hmm.
the experiences that I've had recently again have been like strange experiences. So I had a bit of a strange experience, I think it was a month or so ago, where it was basically like a Kundalini implant
Okay.
experience,
Mm-hmm.
which I did have some work with removing this, and it gave me the typical the euphoria kind of
Mm-hmm.
feeling as well. And the way that I felt it was, so it was a very strong euphoric sensation which I hadn't really experienced before, which was all encompassing. So it was my entire being felt this, and it was very strong and overwhelming. But the way that I felt it was as if it's as if I was feeling it not in the body, but in my aura or something. It was something outside of my body.
Mm-hmm.
And I strangely had another experience like that when I went to the doctors. And I don't know really what was going on there, but one of the doctors was examining me, and he just touched my skin because he was, you know, examining me, and I had the same feeling again. And but I was able to identify at that time that there was something not right going on here.
Oh,
But if you didn't have that awareness, it feels really
right.
nice, and you feel
Yeah.
really drawn to it like a moth to a flame.
Right.
um but it's not right. It's not authentic, it's not organic. It's really an overlay that's being pushed onto you. It's hard to put these things into words because it's not something that I could easily put into words how it actually feels.
Well, even if like on different frequencies, right? In our bodies, in this reality, we can only emit a certain frequency that we can handle, right? Whereas in our true
Mhm.
form, we emit the highest frequency, let's say. And even in
Yeah,
the astral form, we can only emit a higher frequency or a high enough frequency. Yet maybe these beings, let's say they're more intelligent or more whatever evolved, they have more freedom, less limitation. They all of a sudden can emit a higher frequency. And that frequency feels great to us because we're in the trenches, let's say, right? If you're
yeah,
someone
yeah,
that's in depression, all of a sudden feeling angry feels way better than being in depression,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know? So that frequency can feel appealing to us. That can feel like, oh, that's love. That's what I think love is, right? But maybe it's not, right? In my
yeah,
experience, I think peace, maybe even that detachment or that feeling of kind of being okay with it, which is I think bliss even. Um, that could truly be potentially something like maybe what love is trying to embody.
yeah.
But I don't know.
No, I think that too. And when I think back to times when I feel my best is probably more in that state of peace where I'm not feeling any heightened emotion anywhere, but I just feel like a real clear vessel. Like I just
Yeah,
feel
right.
there's no interferences anywhere. I'm just in a state of flow, but it's nothing crazy. There's no grand emotion to it. It's just, I guess, like feeling centered. Um, and yeah, you've got to look at all the manipulation that we're up against here with the false idea of what love is, and that it should be some, you know, fairy tale experience of heightened emotion. Um, but it could just be manipulating us in such a way that we lose our sense of discernment and our intuition. We're not as connected to our
Exactly.
intuition in that
Hmm.
state.
Yep. Yeah. I'm really, really surprised that we resonated on such a level. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you were, uh, you kind of just applied for a reading or order a reading, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Turns out you're like, oh yeah, you know, I dealt with all these things, and I had all these experiences, and this is my perspective. And it's like, okay, wow. Um, that's why I think
It's
that,
nice when that happens.
yeah, right. The more you shift, the more you evolve, the more likely you are to get to the truth, really.
Yeah.
Because you're so willing to say, hey, I'm not stopping. I know what I'm trying to become. I know where I am, and I know what is possible. I'm not limiting myself anymore. I'm not going to fall prey to these traps along the way. I'm just focused.
Yeah.
Now you have your own YouTube channel as well, right?
I do, yes. SubliminalPriestess. I would like to I am going to change the name for it at some point. But yeah, I've just been over the years, really, I've just been making either subliminals, or I've started doing hypnosis meditations now, affirmation videos with, I think the main focus that I've really been going through is trying to help people build up their fundamentals. And I think once we are able to build up that, then that's when we naturally find our own truth anyway. So yeah, that's been really what I want to be working with on that channel.
Yeah, yeah, those are definitely some of the qualities you have. You know, the script gives us certain qualities, certain weaknesses. So it's
Mm-hmm.
important, I think, to realize these qualities through things like astrology and numerology, becoming
Yep.
aware of them, that these are tools, or you can simply become aware of them, you know, yourself if you're very self-aware, and to then use that script for your own benefit rather than for the loose benefit that, you know, you may have agreed to deceptively. Um, so yeah, that's all I have for you, Anna. Thank you so much
Okay.
for agreeing to this video. An absolute pleasure discussing with you. Go check out her channel, Subliminal Priestess, before she changes her name. Find some very nice meditations and that she does on there. She has a very soothing voice, so check it
Thank you.
out. Um, but again, thank you so much for coming. And
You're welcome.
if you guys liked the video, give it a like, subscribe, let us know in the comments what you thought, and let's continue the conversation. Okay, so, all right, that's it.